We're going to use a strap today, so if you have something like a scarf or a tie or a strap or what have you, that will be useful. And I like to sit on something just to elevate my hips. I've been fairly candid about the fact that the past several months have been fairly intense, and I think that that is a widespread experience, and I keep going to my friends and asking, like, how are you dealing with this? What should I do about this feeling that I've got coming up, this situation that I've had? You know, it's been reassuring, but also I feel kind of silly that most of the things that they say to me are things that I have said to them or that I have said in previous Dharma talks and things, resources that they've given to me that I have turned to, that I have been studying and like Tara Brach podcasts, and I follow Noah Levine, and a friend of mine was sending me a bunch of this stuff today, and he was just saying all of these things about how, you know, we have to watch the stories that we tell ourselves because they start to come through. So if I say I'm having a really hard time and I don't start to create a different narrative, then I've just got this self-fulfilling prophecy and the fact that I'm having a really hard time today. And I was like, shoot, did you just record me and regurgitate this all to me? But I'm still finding it very helpful because, of course, there's a part of me at least that's not remembering this when I'm having these experiences. So we laugh about it. I go on and I take a walk and I listen to the Tara Brach meditation that he sent me, and she was discussing how everything that we have an attachment and a longing for, especially if it's something that fills us with a deep anxiety or like needing to have, like, I just need to be in this place right now and I'm not in that place right now, and it's like craving. We can't crave something that we have not experienced. Like babies are like, maybe they're like, okay, cool, let me see this ice cream because I'm just interested in the world, but you know, they're not going to be like, I'm craving ice cream, I'm craving this thing that I've never had before, because your body doesn't know how to recognize it and how to pull that experience up. The reason that we have craving is because the body recognizes that there was this joyful experience that we had, and all of these stimulus that it's like, shoot, it's in there somewhere. I know it's in there somewhere. How do we get back to that? And the easy thing is to get more ice cream, because then we don't have to put the pieces back together for ourselves. But we have all of those pieces put together inside of us. All of the joy that we experience is chemically created from like dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and I'm forgetting another one, but all of that stuff is already inside of us. Nothing got put in or taken out. Like ice cream, I mean, there's sugar, yeah, but joyful experiences in general, if we can take the ice cream and the sugar out of it, they didn't add or detract anything from us. We are just as whole sitting in a moment of discomfort as we are sitting surrounded by loved ones, sharing a good joke, enjoying the warm sunshine, and not having that craving experience. When we're in Shavasana at the end of practice, I've often said that, you know, this feeling, this ease that we have when we come to the completion of our practice and we just took our little nap and done some deep breathing and everything feels just very steady, that was inside of us the whole time. It's hard to find it. Like whenever I'm looking for something, the best thing that I can possibly do is to get somebody else to come and look for it with me, because as soon as they arrive, it will have been right in front of me the whole darn time, which seems also kind of like when I ask my friends, I'm having a really hard time with something, how do you deal with that? And then they tell me exactly what I usually say when I'm not having a hard time. Man, it's like all this stuff is unraveling itself, but it's all within us. It really is. It's peeling back the layers and then sometimes throwing some of the junk out to be able to more easily find this thing that we have a hard time locating at times. And we're going to take a couple of deep breaths together. We're going to think of something that brings you joy. So as you take a moment to settle in, just go, okay, something that brings me joy. It can be anything. But try to get really, really specific about it. So it might be like a specific flavor of something. It might be a specific interaction you have with a person. But if it's just something in general that brings you joy, then try to remember one specific instance where you have experienced joy in that space. Contentment, ease. And as you recall that, take the next several breaths as you settle into your body, settling into the details of everything that you can recall about that experience. Specific words or smells, tastes, textures, time of day, what the light looks like. Just do everything that you can to recreate that good feeling. And not thinking of it like, oh, I want to go have that good feeling again, but I have that good feeling inside of me. We'll begin our practice by releasing 3 ohms together, starting with a deep breath in through your nose, and a big breath out through your mouth. And again like that. For 3 ohms. We're going to start in child's pose. And if child's pose doesn't feel good in your knees or your hips or anything, and I'll just lay flat on your belly and place your head in your hands in a way that's comfortable to you. If you are going to lay on your belly, you just got to make sure that you kind of wiggle your legs back and your ribs forward so that you have the same kind of length in your spine that we're going to cultivate in child's pose. And you're just going to do that with your breath. Those of us who are finding child's pose, start off by settling in and allowing any points of tension to unwind, or deciding that you need to shift slightly in order to allow those points of tension to be a little bit more relaxed.
if you're in child's pose, you're gonna wiggle your fingertips out a little bit further away from you. If you're laying on your belly, see if you can wiggle your body just a little bit longer. And then think of the outsides of your shoulder blades relaxing away from your spine. We're early in the practice. We haven't done much else to open up the upper back. So just being aware that you may not have exactly the space that you always have. Maybe if we took this towards the end of practice, but remembering that it is possible to get the shoulder blades off of the spine and just giving yourself space to find that. One more big breath in and big breath out. And then we're going to come up onto hands and knees, and you could take a seat instead and just do this on your bum. We're going to take just a couple of cat and cows, focusing in the pelvis. So really tuck that tailbone in and underneath as you round through your spine and exhale. And really send that tailbone up and back as you inhale and look up. Start all of this movement in, tucking the pelvis, and then rolling the pelvis up and back. It's about 3 more times. If you're seated, you'll just take this rolling forward and then rolling back. Last full round here. Find a more neutral spine. You'll roll over onto your back, and then your strap or your long fabric-y device, wherever that is, you're going to bring that in by you and then come onto your back, bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock around. And then set the feet down a little bit wider than your hips. We're going to take your arms open and then let both of your knees roll over towards the right. Flex your feet and reach that left knee out and away from you. So you have a little bit more opening on the front of your hip. You might even feel your belly toning in a little bit to lengthen and strengthen the front of your left thigh. See if you can soften the collarbones. All of the tension that might have come up around the sides of your neck. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then stay rolled over to the right. You're going to take your left leg, your top leg, and bring it up a little bit more over your right leg. So you're going to take this into a little bit more of a twist. And probably your left shoulder lifted up. So if you need to roll that left arm a little bit lower, or maybe roll the left shoulder back down towards the ground, whether or not it touches doesn't really matter. Just find more softness in that space. Soften into your belly as you stretch the outer left hip. 2 more breaths. Big exhale. And start rolling yourself back to the center. So both hips are down, both feet are down. You might have to give a little shift in the hips. Feet start off a little bit wider than your hips, and then both of the knees go over towards the left side. You'll flex your feet, helping to keep the knee joints stable, and reach your right knee away from you, maybe toning the belly gently in towards your center. Softening your right collarbone, the muscles in the side of the neck. One more round of breath. And then take your right leg and you're going to glide it up into more of a twist in the hips, coming with the leg coming over the left side, Doesn't matter how much it goes, just find a good amount that feels more twisted to you, more stretchy on the outside of the right hip, and then hopefully a little bit more relaxed in the right collarbone and arm and eyebrows. Big breath in, big breath out. And start to come back to the center, set the soles of your feet down, find the even middle space with your hips. Grab your strap and take the strap around the bottom of your right foot. Go ahead and loop your hands around. And if you want to work on that straight leg action, if that's been very beneficial to you lately, go for it. That's fine. You can still do all of these things with that space. But if you want to put a little bit more softness today, we're going to work more in where the hip is with the hamstring. So that often means, like, a lot of times we lift this right hip up. So instead of lifting the right hip up, can you rest the right hip down and forward? If you want to think of having a really straight leg, great. You can still think of resting the right leg bone down and forward. So we're really working up at the origination of the hamstrings, which is in the hip, way up at the top there. As you take the next several breaths, just keep thinking of the hip and the leg resting down and forward. Big breath in. Soften something as you breathe out. And then if you've had your left leg slid in, you're just going to slide it out a little bit further. It doesn't have to go out totally straight. And then take both ends of the strap into your left hand, put your right hand at your right hip, and move the right heel first over towards the left. So you're going to do turn the leg out and lead with the heel across the body just a little bit. You'll see I didn't go very far. And you're going to now think again of resting that right hip down and forward. It's harder to do with your legs crossed. It's not going to change that much, but it might change the way that it feels. Breathing in and breathing out. And coming back. I'm going to take the strap off of your foot. Just go ahead and pull that right knee in. Let that left leg go wherever it feels good to you. You might take a slow movement of the right knee out to the side and then slowly back to the center. It doesn't matter how much you move, just take it nice and slow and easy on yourself. And then you're going to take, so you want the left leg to be a little bit longer, so it doesn't have to be in tight. It could be out a little bit. It could be out a lot. And then you're going to turn the right leg over to stretch the outside of that hip again. Place the right hand on the right side of your belly and just guide the belly over towards the right. So you're not going to push it. You're not going to jam anything. You just guide the belly over. One more exhale. Come back to the center. Go ahead and slide out both legs. So you have space in the front of your hips. If it feels good, you can reach your arms back or hold onto your elbows. And feel the body get a little bit longer here, feeling more spaciousness in the front side. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then sliding the feet back in so that you can get to your left leg, and then also you can get to your strap and loop the strap around the bottom of the left foot, wrapping that strap around your knuckles, and And you can do this with a straight leg. It is perfectly feasible if that's where you want to be. But more than any of that, can you think of resting your left hip down and forward and your left leg down and forward? So the hip going down and forward is really going to work that origination point, the start of the hamstring. And working the whole leg forward is going to start to get down towards the insertion, the end of the hamstring. You want to get kind of both, but definitely that very top part of the hamstring where it's up in the hip. Notice other points of softness, other points of tension. And get curious about how your breath is working right now. One more breath in. One more breath out. You're going to slide the right leg out a little bit more or a lot more, whichever is fine. You'll take both ends of the strap into your right hand at the left hip to guide the left hip down, and you lead with your heel over towards the right side, gently moving that left leg bone down and forward. So not letting it creep up in it, but going down and forward. Take a big inhale. Soften something as you exhale. And then start to come up. You're going to take that right leg and pull, or take the strap off of your left leg, and you're going to pull that left thigh in. You can wiggle it around. You can have the right leg long. Either is fine. You're going to move this left knee side to side. Do it slowly. You don't have to move it around, and it doesn't have to be a big movement. And you're going to take the left leg and you're going to move it over towards the right side. So you stretch the outside of the hip, place your left hand at the left side of your belly, and it's just a gentle encouragement of rolling over towards the left. Of course, no more than is reasonably comfortable to you. It should be a very easy, just an offering of rolling over, not insistence. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then come back to the center. Go ahead and slide both of those legs out again and reach your arms back behind you. Extend the arms or hold your elbows. Ooh, excuse me. Reach the toes and your fingertips of your arms further apart. Feel the belly and the heart floating up. Take a big full inhale. And then let it all go as you exhale. Do that 2 more times. Big inhale. Big exhale. One more. And then bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug here. Rock yourself up to a seat or roll yourself over and come up into a seat with your knees out fairly wide. And rock your hips a little bit side to side. I'm going to take your opposite hand to your opposite foot. Try to get your fingers in between your toes, or you can do the little toe massages. You're just going to pull yourself a little bit over towards that shin. I'm not getting very far. It's like not even available in my body. I can't tell if it's tight or not. It's not really happening, but a little bit of hip work happening in here and some foot massages. It's feel good. Take a breath in, breath out. unwind your fingers from your toes. You're going to take that hand behind you, that left hand, just twist over towards that side a little bit and let it go. Take opposite hand over to the opposite toes, and this arm's just to kind of support me, not going much of anywhere, just a little leaning towards this thigh, and then massaging my foot bones. Relax with your exhale. You're going to take that hand back behind you. Just twist away from that thigh you were leaning towards. Let that go. Come onto your hands and knees. If you're not going to come onto your hands and knees, we're going to take this shape. You'll take a little twist here, and you'll take a little bit of this. So those would be your other options. You can do the same thing seated, one leg up. What you might do is take your right foot forward, and we're going to start with a twist. If you've got a block that you want to put underneath your left hand, you could do that. Or you could just put your right hand on your right thigh on your left fingertips, or maybe take your right arm open. And now you're going to rest that right hip down and back. So we're going down and forward. Now it goes down and back. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then coming to face forward. Turn yourself forward. Lean a little bit forward in your hips. And we're going to lift the heart up. If you're seated, you can lift your arms. If you're feeling really steady, you can lift one or both of your arms. Big breath in. And then take your hands down. I find inside the leg works best so that you can take that right leg back and then bring the left foot forward. So you might switch legs if you're seated, drawing the other knee up. And you can be on fingertips or up on a block. You can do a little twist with the hand on the thigh or a bigger twist with the hand in the sky. And instead of letting your hip go out and forward, you're going to pull it down and back. One more breath. And then taking your body to face forward. Take your hands up onto your thigh. Rest your hips forward just slightly. Still push into the front foot. Everybody lift your heart. If you're seated, try to lift your arms. If you're up in this lunge, try to lift at least one arm if you're feeling frisky. If you want to lift both, that's great too, but we're all lifting the heart. Inhale. And then exhale, take it down. Go ahead and slide this leg back. We're all going to come in a downward facing dog to start off with. We're going to end in a forward fold in a little bit here. So downward dog might be a brief visit before you come to forward fold. Give yourself the opportunity in downward dog to push strong from the outsides of the shoulders into your hands and walk through the heels, getting a little stretch to the backs of the legs and the calves. And then bring your feet towards your hands and your hands towards your feet. And we will all find a fold. Bend into your knees quite a lot. Try to soften your belly towards your thighs. Relax something with your exhale. Go ahead and walk your hands up your legs, finding standing. And we're going to come to a wall. So you'll need to have something nearby that is roughly sturdy. And so I'm going to show this way to start off with. So the camera angle's a little bit weird here. This doesn't look like it's higher than my shoulder, but I promise you it's higher than my shoulder. See, it's definitely higher. And I'm like a bookshelf distance away from my wall. Front foot goes forward, back foot goes back. I'm in front of my hand is above my shoulder, my palm is on the wall. I'm going to take my hands right into my solar plexus here, so I can really feel that my hips and my ribs are facing forward. I'm going to stand on both feet, try to soften that inside collarbone, and then push that inside arm gently into the wall. If this is really intense for you, do this on fingertips. That might be a little bit better because you can kind of bend your elbow a little bit more. Let's see if you can reach from the shoulder blade out through that hand. You're using this hand on your torso to ensure that you are facing forwards, Standing on 2 feet. Don't rest on that back foot. Breathing in. Breathing out. Now your outside arm, you're just gonna do a little dance move here. You're gonna slide it underneath until you take the arm off the wall and come to eagle arms. If you're in eagle arms, if this feels good, great. If you need to give yourself a hug instead, just do that. And then you're gonna try to stay lifted in the front of the hips as you just soften the front of the heart, which hopefully lets the back of the heart start to open up. Big breath in, big breath out. Go ahead and lift yourself up, unwind your arms, and then you're gonna come to face the other way, and this time I'm gonna face you this way because this actually works. And see, now I've got my hand a little bit above my shoulder. The inside leg is forward, the outside leg is back. I want to put my hands right around my solar plexus, or the space in between my sternum and my belly button and my low ribs. And my ribs are facing forward, and I can tell that I'm not twisty in my belly, that everything faces out. Fingertips if things are really intense. Palm if you're feeling up to it. Soften this collarbone down and push outwards into the wall, standing strong on 2 feet. One more breath. A little brain tease dance move. Outer arm goes underneath, and you kind of turn yourself around hokey pokey style and find yourself with eagle arms. Standing up tall and strong, try to spread your feet out down on the floor. You have a strong lower body and foundation, and we're going to let the heart be soft here. Letting just that upper rib cage expand, the elbows reach down, let the throat be soft. Big breath in. Big breath out. And unwind. And then take your hands back behind you. You're going to find your fingertips on the wall. I'm going to stand shoulders above your feet. If you're feeling very tense in the shoulders, I want you to bend your elbows. Your elbows come back towards the wall. You're just going to push yourself forward with bent elbows. Should be still kind of strong in the hands. If you can get the palm in the shoulders, if you can get the palms down onto your wall, great. If you can make your arms a little bit straighter, also great. We're still standing up straight. We're just going to push the hands back and then broaden the collarbones and relax your jaw. You kind of have to look in front of you. If you look elsewhere, it gets really, really wonky. One more breath. Exhale. And then go ahead and soften your heart back so it's not as intense to take your arms down. Roll them back and forth a few times. Okay. And since we're already by a wall, we'll take our standing balance here. We'll take tree pose. So pick a foot, bring it up on the standing leg. You're gonna open up your knee, lift the front of your hips. Maybe the hands come to the heart. And if you've got the hands to the heart, you can press the palms together to find that catalyst, that pressure that opens the space, and then keep the space open. Relax that pressure a little bit. You used it, and now you can let it go. Standing tall, breathing in, breathing out. Set the foot down, wiggle out a little bit, and find the other side, bringing the other foot up, the inside of your leg, lengthen that knee up, lift the front of the pelvis, close the fronts of the ribs, open the front and back of the heart. Maybe there's some hand pressure, and then finding that open space without the pressure. Can you stay in that open space? Breathing in. Breathing out. And taking your foot up, setting it down, wiggling things out a little bit. And taking your feet really wide. Sticking them out about underneath your hands. And then you can take your hands at your hips. You can put your hands on the ground whenever you want to. Maybe you start off with a big chest stretch, reaching those hands behind you, and then taking that heart first forward over your legs. You can bend your knees. If the arms above your head is no longer serving you, we just went there maybe for a little bit. You can take the hands down or to your hips or to your legs. And then see about pushing more into your toes than your heels. So you don't have to lift your heels up, just push more in the toes. And see if you can allow the backs of the hips to open up. So remember when we were doing that big stretch and it was the origination of the hamstring, which is right up here in the very back of your hip. Can you let that open up? Is there room for it? Big breath in. Big breath out. And bend your knees slightly, bring your hands to your hips, come all the way up. And then you're going to bring your feet in. Take your right foot forward. As you put your left foot back, like you're going to go into Warrior 2 or Warrior 1, you're not. You just want to have that space between and the back toes turned in. And then bring your hands to your hips. In fact, take your right hand to your hip, take your left hand to your belly. So opposite hand to your belly, same hand to your hip. And you're going to feel the softness in your belly, even though you have an open heart, because there's a small twist to come over this front leg, drawing that front hip down and back instead of letting it move out and forward, down and back. Can you stand on both of your feet? And then, if your hamstrings have the room, can you open up at the origination at the start of your hamstring, which is up in your hip, and it's a small thing and it's a big feel. Last exhale. Draw your belly in, lift it up. Bend into that knee slightly. We will come into Warrior 1. Lift your arms up. Feel the power in that front leg with all the space that you've made. Big breath in. Exhale, hands come down, lean forward. Maybe you step up into chair pose just a little bit to stand up. Nice. And then taking your right foot back, left foot outwards. Legs are straight, hip space forward. We're standing on 2 feet. Start with the front leg, same hand at the hip, opposite hand right at your solar plexus so you can feel this forward alignment. And then as you pull that front hip down and back, we lean the heart forward, weight on 2 feet, long in the spine. Softening the belly every time you exhale because there is a small twist happening here. We're not twisting around, but there's a little twist, hip space that way, ribs want to face this way. Rest that front hip down and back. Maybe there's room at the very top of the hamstring. Maybe there isn't. Don't push it. Just question. Exhaling. Inhaling to come up. Bend into the front knee, just enough that it's over the front ankle. A little Warrior 1 action, lifting your arms. 2 strong feet, still resting that front hip down and back. Breathing in. Breathing out, hands to the heart, lean forward. You might take a very short visit into a chair pose, just enough to feel 2 feet, and then go ahead and stand on up and wiggle things out. If they happen to have got sticky or have gotten strange, we'll widen the legs out again here. And then turn the toes and the knees out just a little bit. So they're not directly forward, they're not out to the side, so just a little bit open. We're going to take the hands to the hips. And then the movement is going to be this. It's going to be hips back and heart forward. But you're going to bend into your left leg first. So my hips still go straight back and my heart goes forward. I get a little bit more of this inner thigh stretch. Both hips go back, exhale. Nice. Lift the belly up, come back to the center. And then same thing on the other side. We'll bend into the right leg, send the hips back, not over to the right. Heart is forward. 2 feet are standing. Exhale. Take it all the way back up. And then bring your feet in a little bit closer. So quite a bit closer, actually. We usually say bring the feet right underneath your hip bones, which is about 2 fist width distance apart. Think of like maybe like the very outside of your hip bones, the outside of your pelvic crest. So a little bit wider than usual. You've got like 3 fists down there instead of 2. Not an exact thing, but this little bit of extra space is going to give a little bit more room in the flexion of your hamstrings and the movement around your hips. And another thing we're going to do is take a little bend into the knees. And my bend in the knees is not chair pose, it's not straight. What that's going to let me do is just start off with my hands at my hips and start rolling my tailbone back. And then I'm really moving around this circle of my pelvis, and then you'll start to bend into the knees as much as you need to get your belly down towards your thighs, and then bring your hands somewhere comfortable to you. For a lot of us, this is going to be our shins and not the floor, but do what you need to do. And then find a way where your head can be relaxed. It doesn't have to hang down. Just try to remove the tension around the neck, and then flare out the very top of your hamstrings. We're going to open up those tail feathers. Feel the squishy part of your bum is getting further away from the thigh. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then bring your hands down. We're going to come back to child's pose or to lay on your belly, depending on how your knees are feeling today. If you normally have a very tight child's pose, you might have a little bit more space because we've done a lot of that hip folding today. If it's been too much hip folding, just lay on your belly. Find something that works better for you. Take 3 deep breaths here. And then everyone start to take yourself down to laying on your belly. Make a pillow for your head with your hands. You might step your feet a little bit wider so that you have more room in your lower back. Maybe even wiggling your hips a little bit side to side. And then come up onto your elbows, coming into Sphinx pose. I have not done much back bending yet. It's been a lot of forward folding. So if you need your elbows to be wider or more forward, that might feel better to you. You can kind of wiggle this out into side. We're going to look back towards the right shoulder as you pull your left shoulder back. Exhale. Looking up. And then over towards the left shoulder as you pull your right shoulder back. Exhale, pull the head up, and then lower it on down. Bring your elbows wide. If you were resting on one cheek, rest on the other cheek. If you were on the forehead, go back there. And then we'll take one Shalabhasana, one locust pose, probably not the biggest one that you'll ever do, but more of a long one. Think of the heart coming forward over anything else. Reach your hands and your legs back. Feel the heart lifting up slightly. Feel those toes reaching back. How much longer could you make this locust pose? I'm barely off of the ground. Big inhale. Exhale. Bring your hands down. And then start to roll yourself over onto your back. Adjust whatever you need in order to get there. Start off with feet a little bit wider than hips, knees knocking against each other. Place your hand somewhere comfortable to you, often a hand on the belly and a hand on the heart. Be very grounding and centering. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then release your arms from your body. Bring your heels a little bit close together. Take your right leg up in the air. Move your toes around to work the bones in the ankle and to go the other way. I'm trying to separate your toes if that's available. And then flexing your foot, toes drawn up to the shin. Take your right ankle on your left knee. And then you can stay here, gently moving that right hip forward, or maybe take the right arm in between the legs and hold onto the left thigh. If this is too much and the foot on the ground was too little, maybe you just take this knee and you pull it in again. And you're just kind of resting the right hip forward if you've got hold of the shin. If you've got hold of the other leg, you are also resting that right hip forward. And it's important, if we're holding the legs in close like this, we're not pushing the right hip forward, we're not forcing it, we're resting it. It's okay, you can go in that direction as much as you're interested in going. About 2 more breaths like this. And if you've got the leg up, you'll release it. We'll set the soles of both feet down on the mat. Notice if there's anything uneven around the hips and wiggling that out. Go ahead and slide those legs out long, just as long as feels good to you. Reach your arms back, hold elbows, or reach your arms back straight. We're gonna let the heart float up and the belly stretch out and the toes move forward. Inhaling, relaxing with your exhale, and then sliding your feet in. Bringing your arms down and extending your left leg up in the air to move the toes around, to circle around the ankle. Going in both directions. Moving your toes as much as is free and accessible to you today. And then drawing the toes back to your face, making your foot flexed. Keeping the flex of the foot with the left ankle on the right knee, staying here, the thigh moves away. Or you just pull that leg in towards you. Or you can take the left arm in between the legs, hold on to the right leg somewhere that makes sense to you. Keep the foot flexed. All of us are resting that left hip forward. And that's not to say that you lift the right hip up so much that you can lift the left hip forward. Right hip soft, the left hip also softens forward. Two more breaths. And gently release the right foot down if you had it lifted. Release the left foot down. Slide those legs out nice and long. Reach the arms up and over. Elbows or arms extended. As you lengthen the body out like you're being pulled out on a stretcher. Another big breath in. Big sigh. And slide the feet in a little bit closer to you. This time, open the arms up to a T or a cactus shape. Let the knees roll over to the right. If you want to take them closer to your body, you can snuggle them up more by your torso for a deeper twist. Gentle pressure in the left arm to release the outside, or the right arm into the release the outside of the left collarbone. So whatever side your legs are on, that arm, push down in it to open the other side. And then once you find, okay, that's about as much as I'm going to open, stop forcing it, rest into it. Big inhale, soften something as you exhale, and then start to move your twist over towards the other side, coming back to center, and then both knees go over. Maybe they get closer to your chest, maybe they stay exactly where they were at, or maybe they go down further. There's a little pressure in the outside of your left arm to relax the right arm, and then once you find about as much space as you're going to get, it's okay to rest into that space. This is what I've got today. This is what I'm going to stick with, what I'm going to breathe with. One more full round of breath. And then start to come back into the center. Set the soles of your feet a little bit wider than your hips. Let the knees fall against each other. Bring your arms down or place them on your body, whichever seems the most calling to you. If you're in a place where you can easily come to do legs up against the wall and that sounds interesting to you, wonderful. We might start working towards that. You can also put your legs up on a chair or on a couch or a bed, depending on where you're at in space. And if you want to come into a more traditional Shavasana, then that's also absolutely wonderful. Go ahead and consider which space you'd like to be in. If you would like to move towards legs up against the wall, you might just roll over, gently press yourself up. And then I want to take the hips really, really close to the wall. So I like to get real intimate here, so I know that my legs will just go straight up when I get there. And you'll extend, feet up in the air, rest your hips down, rest your arms in a place that is soft and easy to you. And settle into your rest.
Good. Monday, but I'm trying to open this Christmas and 9:30 to 5:30. Oh yeah. Especially since there's a lot of daylight, right?
As you start to tune in, notice what you feel. How would you describe it? What words, what textures? I've said I don't walk around during Shavasana and sprinkle magic pixie dust of calm and easy over us. And obviously I haven't done that now, but this was within us, each of us. We peeled back the layers, we did some rooting around, some digging, some searching, some being open to it, and there it was. So we can come back to this at any time. The more we root around, the more familiar we are with finding it, the easier it is to get here, to stay here. And you're welcome to just stay in this space for however long you want, but if you'd like to start waking yourself up a little bit, start moving yourself over to your side, rolling over, and eventually, with gratitude for your practice, coming up to find your own version of a seat. Bringing your hands somewhere that makes sense to you, perhaps palms at your heart. Sealing the practice, releasing one Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the love and light that resides within each of our hearts, within all hearts. Namaste.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Girl,
Bye-bye. See you next week.
take care.
Take care.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Rhonda.